The case of Shingeki no Kyojin. Shingeki no Kyojin had a ridiculous tight schedule. No other studio wanted to accept producing the anime with such a short time, but Manabu Otsuka, was the new director when the original one, the founder left, Manabu agreed to do it in his studio. He took steps such as calling literally everyone who was available in the studio to serve as the production team for the project, which turned out to be the team from the long-suffering Sacred Beasts, putting Yuichiro Hayashi in charge and ordering character design Tomohiro Kishi to be part of the project, even if he was already busy. Also, after the end of the troubled production of Taizo Samurai, actually, I didn't see Taizo Samurai, and I haven't heard anyone talking about it. So I'm thinking that this was a failure. So the production of Taizo Samurai, part of the anime team, was moved to Shingeki no Kyojin. This caused several animators to talk about how tight the production situation was. One of them commented on the matter and deleted his post soon after, while the other left the studio talking about how bad working conditions were. And since we're talking about Taizo Samurai, he was another extremely troubled studio project. Due to its bad schedule, several episode directors and animation directors were needed to complete each episode, reaching the limit of absurdity in its final episode. 6 different directors directing the same episode were needed. Try to say it 3 times really quick. On top of that, as I said, part of the project team joined Shingeki no Kyojin as soon as they finished Taizo Samurai, moving from one chaotic production to another. Yuichiro Hayashi and Sunho Park. So, Yuichiro Hayashi and Sunho Park are standing out as two of the best directors at the studio MAPPA. Hayashi manages to extract the most from his adaptations, always creating an aesthetic that matches the project. That's why even directing very different animes, Dorohedoro, Shingeki, Kakegurui, and Garo, he always does well. Meanwhile, Park demonstrates a great skill with action animes, having animated and directed incredible fights in The God of High School and Jujutsu Kaisen. They're amazing indeed. Both The God of High School and Jujutsu Kaisen are well known for their great action scenes, so I agree with that. The big problem is that the studio ends up depending a lot on them. Hayashi was thrown into an extremely troubled project like Shingeki no Kyojin, while Park went on to direct Jujutsu Kaisen right after doing an absurd job on The God of High School. For this project, Park was sub-character designer on every episode, storyboarder on 10 of 13 episodes, episode director on 5 episodes, animation director on 2 episodes, and participated as a key animator on 6 episodes, doing many long scenes while still overseeing the entire project. In fact, this would be impossible if the director wasn't an amazing artist. However, after all this work, he was moved to another extremely ambitious two-course show, Jujutsu Kaisen. The commercial positioning of the MAPPA studio. Manabu Otsuka, the studio CEO, was interviewed, and when asked about the increase in anime production, the producer replied, there is the opinion that we should reduce the number of productions in the industry, but I think this is to escape the reality of work that is before our eyes. If the number of works is high, it is because the demand is high. So how are we going to supply high quality products for this demand? There is still a long way to go for our company to get there, but I would like to focus more and more on this. That's why I plan to increase the production force at MAPPA while paying attention to issues in the current anime industry. So that's a known fact. Everybody talks about it. like 10 years ago, we had 8 animes per season, and now we got like 40 or 50 each season, right? Otsuka's quote is a beautiful reflection of the studio's current philosophy. Manabu Otsuka is well aware of the current situation in the Japanese animation industry, and aware of this, he intends to continue to increase the studio's productivity while seeking to maintain its quality. MAPPA has become a company focused mainly on high productivity, while showing that the result of its production is excellent. The studio seeks to create mass adaptation of the main projects provided by several different production committees, even if the time available is short, as it was with Shingeki no Kyojin. At the same time, the studio makes some profit by joining committees for some of its projects, such as Kakegurui, Zombie Rendo Saga, Granblue Fantasy 2, and Shingeki no Kyojin. So that's the same thing I keep repeating, and I will do that again. Doing what you love is great, but if you are in a business, in a company, and you have a boss and you have shareholders, you end up having to deal with doing the best you can with the time and budget that you have. And this is clearly the case here too. The studio's great animation team. A very positive point of Studio Mappa is its in-house staff. They have many talented directors like Jun Shishido, Hayashi, and Park. Great production assistants and animation producers who manage to draw a lot of talent to the studio. We even joked that MAPPA is a gacha of staffs, as they always manage to bring any animator in the industry to their productions. Unfortunately, the work of these artists is often overshadowed by the lousy schedules and its unstoppable anime production line. So we have here a scene. Let's check. Oh, it's from Jujutsu Kaisen. Okay, I remember the first battle. It's with the panda, right? It's him against the panda. Yeah, that is a very cool scene. Indeed. Uh, Yoshikazu Tomita is one of the main animators of One Piece. He's rarely seen working outside of Toei or Sunrise, but he has made some good appearance in Jujutsu Kaisen. So for the conclusions and reflections, we reached the 10th anniversary of Studio Mappa on this June 4th, and going back through the entire trajectory of the studio, it is undeniable that the company has completely deviated from its original purpose of existence. Now, at MAPPA, producing more and more, seeking to meet the demand imposed by the production committees is the main objective. This is a big problem, as the studio often ends up taking on more projects than they can produce and on extremely tight schedules. The result of this? Perhaps the studio is indeed making a profit, but they are sacrificing their employees in the process. This results in some people leaving the studio, as we reported above. In response to this, MAPPA frequently recruits, which they are doing monthly, by the way. Studio Mappa has, again, open jobs, and it's even recruiting newly graduated students. Jobs for in-betweeners and key animators. It is noteworthy that the studio has been looking for many functionals, making monthly recruits March, April, May, and now in June. Well, I think that's kind of an assumption because we don't really know. Maybe we have still openings, so maybe it keeps going March, April, May, and June because they haven't still fulfilled the openings, right? That could be the case. I think so. Thus, MAPPA could end up falling into the same fate as its older brother, Masao Maruyama's former studio Madhouse. It lost its founder, several animators and directors. MAPPA now finds itself in a sad situation, an excellent team working in a complicated environment. At the same time, the studio has developed a very large fandom that defends it with tooth and nail, putting up hashtags like "Thank you MAPPA," while often attacking the members of the studio, who should be the people to be grateful for, and not the company that put them on a bad schedule. That's very true, right? The director of the latest episode of Shingeki no Kyojin was harassed by fans of the work to the point of setting his Twitter account to private. It seems fine, but this couldn't have been a nice experience. To those who did it, you are the scum. Yeah, for sure. Cyberbullying is never okay. There's not much we can do. The current state of MAPPA is a response to the overproduction of the animation industry. MAPPA did not create the problem itself, but it's not working efficiently to solve it. My tip is, value the people who are producing the anime you like, not the company that you work for. And as I said, the problems in the industry are not unique to MAPPA. The Japanese animation industry is always screwed up. One animator said he is putting Science Saru on its blacklist of companies, as the studio takes on too many projects, putting its employees' health at risk. In the past, another animator complained about this, when Eizouken and Japan Sinks were produced at the same time. An animator here on Twitter revealed to be unhappy with his work at Neverland. He said he had to do a scene that would normally take 3 weeks in just 5 days. He doesn't even want to be credited for the final result. This season's production is in dire straits. Producer Kadokawa has a new management plan, which is based on producing 40 anime per year. For animation fans, it might seem like a good thing to have more titles per year, for years, but from an internal industry point of view, this is terrible. Yeah, yeah. So I have my opinion, which I've shared during the reading, but the thing is, it doesn't matter how much we love anime, and we would kill to have an opportunity to work in a studio doing what you love. At the end of the day, they are just companies and it's just work. So they have to produce and they have schedules and they have to make profit. And that's just the reality of life. But that said, we have to have a bare minimum of what you can accept for, work conditions. You cannot overwork to death your employees. That's a problem I think that you can see in Japan as a whole. If you've watched Agretsuko, which is a Netflix original anime, you may have a grasp of what I'm talking about. But the thing is, I do feel like the problem here is not so much as anime studios as it is in Japanese work culture itself.